Hello, middle school. Right now I'm going to show you how to do the final part of painting your folk art inspired butterfly. In the last video, if you remember, we did the armature, the cardboard armature, and then we plastered over this. I have allowed my butterfly to dry. I propped up its wings between two bottles of paint. It is completely dry. And what I did after that, if there were any little pieces of like string or plaster that were sticking up, I just took scissors and I just kind of trimmed those off. Don't pull on them, but you can just kind of trim them down. There's one right here. You can just kind of snip it. Then what I did is I used enamel paint. The reason why you're going to use enamel is because it will stick to a lot of different surfaces. Okay, so this is a black enamel. Based on the colors of my red Admiral butterfly, I made black the base coat because most of its body is black. So today what I'm going to do, using my visual reference, is I am going to start painting in the details. So I have selected my paints. Again, these are all enamels. The 4 colors that I think I'm going to need. And I'm not going to use these straight out of the bottle. I do need to mix some of them. I'll be mixing some tints and some shades. Tints, remember, when you add in white. Shades are when you add in black. So I think where I will start is probably this brown that you see in here. If I look really closely, the red Admiral is not just solid black. It does have quite a bit of really dark brown in it. So with my paintbrush, I'm just going to take some of that brown and switch it out to the middle. Now when you're using black, use just a little bit at a time. Black is very dominant, and very quickly it will cancel out your color. So you can see I used just a tiny amount of black, and I made that brown quite a bit darker. So I can see on here that it kind of follows along the base of the wings, that brown in here. So I'm just going to start, hopefully you can see this okay. Just going to start placing in my colors. And it's kind of a chunk of brown down the middle there. Now, because butterflies are symmetrical, what I do to one side, using the best symmetry that I can, I'm also going to do on the other side of the butterfly. If it's not exact symmetry, hey guys, that's okay, all right? I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for something that a machine would create. But try to do the best you can with symmetry, okay? So there I've kind of laid down that brown stripe in the middle. Now what I might do to get that to fade in really gradually, because right now I have kind of a definite line in there, I'm going to pick up a little bit of black on my brush. And notice I didn't really even wash it because that black is just going to cancel out anything. And while the brown is still wet, I'm going to come in here and I'm using a really, really light pressure. And I'm painting in the brown. Just to kind of, oh, that's a really loud truck. Sorry guys. That's the joys of working from home and living in the country. We got a lot of people in our area that have loud trucks. Okay, so you can see right here, I've got the brown along the abdomen, and then I went back in with a little bit of black just to kind of fade it in gradually and maybe tone that brown down just a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna wash out my brush. All right, The next thing I think I'm going to put in is the orange. There's quite a bit of orange on this guy. So I think I'm actually going to use the orange just, well, maybe I'll make a bit of a tint of it. So I'm going to move quite a bit of the orange, because I'm going to need quite a lot of it, over to the other well. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white. Now when you add white to a paint, it will lighten it, but it will also make your color more opaque. Opaque, remember guys, is one of our vocabulary words. And opaque means that it makes the paint less see-through, okay? So you won't be able to see the black underneath. So I can see on this butterfly right along here, the bottom of its wing, I'm just going to really kind of roughly kind of block in the color of this. I'll come back in later and, you know, put down another coat of orange and maybe a little bit more of the detail. But right now I just want to get that main color blocked in. And I'll do the same up above. It starts right about there. And you don't have to be exact, everybody. That's kind of the nice thing about butterflies. They're all really uniquely patterned in one way or other. So if it's not exactly like your visual reference, that's okay. But I do expect that you have a visual reference in front of you. It could be paper, or it could be, you know, you have a visual reference on your chrome. All right. You do have to have that, or it's just not going to look the way that you that your butterfly is really identified. So I'm going to do the other side. I'm trying to stay on camera. And don't forget to get the very edges. And notice that I can see the black underneath the orange. I knew that was going to happen. That's okay with me. I just know that I need to come back with probably one more coat of orange. Make sure too, 6th grade, that you're using the right size of brush for the right area. If I'm doing small detailed work, I'm not going to pick up my largest brush. Okay, now in between layers, I'm going to let it dry. If I was to continue doing another layer while it's wet, I'm really just going to be moving the paint around, and I'm going to get frustrated really quickly because I won't be able to get rid of that transparent paint and make it more opaque. Okay, now I think I'll go after the white spots. I'm just going to go with my white straight out of the bottle. And again, just kind of try to match them in as closely as I can to the visual reference. My lines right now are kind of splotchy, but I'll come back in later with maybe a little bit smaller brush and straighten those lines up a little bit. And there's kind of a splotchy. Then I notice right along the edge of its wings, there's a little bit of white. So I'm going to be asking that you're really looking at your butterflies so you can pick up these tiny little details. That's what's really going to help to identify these. And there's some down here. Okay, so I have a good start of it. I'm going to do the other side of it, and I'm going to wait for it to dry. Then I'm going to do a second coat of paint on this, and I'm going to start working on the abdomen. The abdomen is probably the trickiest part. On the Red Admiral, it's kind of a combination of dark brown and maybe a little bit of like a medium brown. I'm going to try to get some of the details I can because their abdomen is divided. It looks like into three. There's a head, there's the middle, and then there's the bottom. I can't remember the technical terms of those. Yeah, so I'm going to try to get those in there and everything. I'll be back to show you how to do the veins, because if you look really closely at a butterfly, they have teeny tiny little veins. So at that point, I'm going to grab this little brush. That will be the last thing that I do, and add in those tiny little veins.